I'm a nerd. Movies don't entice me. But writing in weird languages do.
Hello, Skull here. Welcome to the 7th campaign diary for the Abomination vaults. Our heroes are back at the Gauntlight ruins and are about to investigate Apprentice Island. May's player is back this week, so we are once again at a full party. Since we're 7 sessions in, I thought it would be fun to check in with the players and see which bits of content they're enjoying the most so far. The questions I put to them were, who's been your favourite NPC so far, and which has been your favourite fight so far? Make your guesses in the comments now, as I'll reveal the answers at the end of the session recap. As she missed out on the downtime in Atari, I began by asking May if there's anything she would have done while in town. After we figured out how to use talismans, she bought a repair kit so that she's able to affix the consumable. She's currently carrying a wolf's fang, so attached it to her explorer's clothing. She also sent a letter to her family, which live in a neighbouring town. Once she had gone through her retconned town activities, we had one more bit of housekeeping to do. May had contracted flypox back during the giant fly encounter. After the onset time and a couple of days in town, this put her currently at stage 2. I gave her the chance to roll against the disease for the nights that she had missed last session, and 2 successes put her back to stage 1. As it is a disease with the virulent trait, it requires 2 successful saves to reduce the stage. I was unsure if this meant that they roll twice each night, or if they roll once each night and then need 2 successes to reduce it. But if they roll once each night, needing 2 successes, but the stage increases after 24 hours, how will they ever get cured? It's a little confusing. After some research, it seems like they make 1 save each night, with the first success essentially stalling the disease and the second actually reducing the stage. Either way, diseases seem to be a real long-term problem, which is nice. The group debated whether to head back to town and let her rest, but with Milo's short timeline, they didn't really have time to waste. As such, they decided to push on for now, and if things look bad for May, they'll retreat.
Yeah, you're not too bad. It seems like the infection isn't too strong in you, but I think curing it might take up to half a day. So this will not be a quick thing to get rid of, sadly.
Okay. Well, I'll try my best not to hold you all back. I
In
made
case, just tell us in case it gets too bad, and we take the rest. That's more important. We need you in full strength for whatever horrors await us.
all right.
Milo prodded at the bridge for a bit with a stick before determining that it is safe to traverse. And with that, our heroes crossed onto Apprentice Island. They listened at the door to the study, using a brass ear, and heard the faint sounds of a disturbance on the other side. Not yet aware of our hero's approach, Tangletop was busy organizing his books, and by organizing them, I mean spreading them out erratically on the ground. The group decided to burst in and surprise whatever was awaiting, but unfortunately, these doors were swollen shut. They assumed that the doors were locked, so began attempting to pick them. A successful roll meant that Rock realized they weren't locked, but just stuck. Tiny used the force open action to smash the doors open, but this series of events had given Tangletop more than enough time to prepare a spooky surprise for our heroes.
A small, bright light appears in the center of the room. A voice calls out to you.
Leave my things alone.
Your things?
These are mine.
Right. And
What?
who are you?
My name is Spooky Wisp. A wispy ghost. And this is my room.
Should we just douse him with the holy water?
Oh, that seems kind of mean.
Milo studied the light and identified it as a dancing lights spell, which made them doubt the authenticity of the supposed ghost.
I'm pretty sure it's not an actual ghost, guys.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure that's a dancing light spell.
A spell?
Rock tried to draw the creature out by pocketing one of the books, which made Spooky Wisp panic and take the bait.
That's mine. Give it back.
It's yours.
Cat.
Well,
Yes.
why don't you come out here so I can hand it to you? Because we all know that's not you.
Tangletop isn't really a fighter, so I thought my group would get a lot more enjoyment out of this as a silly role-play encounter. To this end, I made his revealed self much more timid and childish than he was probably intended.
Can I have my
I
book,
believe this is
please?
yours.
Thank you.
I take the book out of my pocket and I hand it down to the tiny person.
He takes the book, which is much too large for him. It Sort of drops it on the floor, drags it a couple of feet away from you.
So what are you?
I'm Tangle Top.
I mean,
How long you
that's,
been here, Tabletop?
A few days.
They tried to figure out what he was and why he was there.
that's who you are, though, not what you are.
I'm a brownie.
Brownie.
Brownie?
What's a brownie doing here?
I want to recall knowledge on what the heck a brownie is.
After learning that he was a brownie and what a brownie is, they requested that he let them read the books. Tangletop refused this request, but he did offer the deal that if they retrieve the shiny from further in the building, he'll reveal 3 secrets that he learned from the books.
Well, if you've already read these, mind if I could, take a look? I like
No,
books as
they're
well.
mine.
Oh, well. um,
We can make a deal.
Ooh, a deal. What kind of
Okay.
deal?
There's a shiny that I want in the room to the southwest. But there's a mean, beak-faced doll that stops me from trying to get the shiny. But if you get it for me, I'll tell you 3 secrets that I learned from the books.
The group agreed and they set off to claim whatever the shiny might be. The group decided to stealth from here onwards as they entered the Hall of Portraits. Upon the wall of this corridor, they saw the 4 paintings. The first depicted Absalom burning and under siege by ghosts. The second was the Gauntlet beaming incorporeal undead. The third was shredded beyond recognition, and the fourth was a portrait of Belcora. They correctly guessed that the 4th portrait was a painting of Belcora, after which they spent some time bullying her picture.
That's the portrait.
Charming.
Not what I expected.
It does look like someone who would build this place and create a bunch of undeads.
She has very big boobies.
Yes, that's the aspect of her that makes her evil.
All point. She actually
Evil
looks
is
like a
stored in the
Scooby
boobies.
Doo villain.
Yeah, evilly stored in the boobies. That's my new motto.
Milo is our only hero who can read Aklo, and he knows the nature of this language. Being the bookworm and monster nerd that he is, this excited and scared him quite a bit.
This is Aklo.
Can you
Ack
tell
what?
me a reason why why that's important?
Why
It's
it's
not.
important? You've never heard
Yeah.
of Aklo?
I don't
No.
believe I have. Please enlighten me.
Well, it's not good. It's the language of bad things from the deep. It's the language associated with eldritch abominations and horrors and awfulness deep in the darkest depths of our planet and beyond.
They theorized that whatever had scratched the message of "I still serve you" was an evil Aklo-speaking creature that had worked for Belcora, which is a pretty good assumption. They also discussed the possibility of this surviving servant being the one who triggered the current events.
Oh, and you think maybe when she was defeated, this one wasn't, and he's still, or she, don't want to be sexist, is still
Yeah.
slinking around somewhere.
Yes, exactly, and maybe they're the ones who's doing the thing now, who's trying to avenge their master.
I wonder why now. It's been 500 years.
Yeah. Maybe they've been, building their strength. Maybe they were weak and pathetic 500 years ago. Or maybe they've been preoccupied with other things, or... it
All
could be a myriad of
possibilities.
things.
Moving on to the 3rd destroyed painting, May took an interest in why this one had been destroyed.
An artist at work, could that be the artist that painted the other paintings? And why would it be shredded? Did
Could
they not
be.
like them anymore? Did the one that carved that, and I'll point at the Anglo saying that sentence, did the one that did that also do this?
She managed to figure out from the remaining scraps that it was once a portrait, but she had no chance of making out the subject. I really liked this room as part of the early adventure. For a curious group like mine, it gave them lots of questions and plenty of little teasers of what's to come. A great topic of conversation for the characters. Moving on, our heroes entered the lens workshop. As they viewed the room, the little wooden doll sprung to its feet and called out a question.
Is Master Azulina coming back?
Make me fun, big face.
It kind of scans you over, and then its eyes like spin from like a normal eyes to angry eyes.
You are not Master Azulina.
Initiative was rolled, and the infamous Mr. Beak combat began. Mr. Beak is very well known in the Pathfinder community for being a brutal fight. He's been known to outright kill characters before they can even react. Luckily for my players, we were using the post-nerf Mr. Beak, so his terrifying Phantom Pain spell had the non-lethal trait instead of the fatal trait. They're also level 2, and there's 5 of them, so they were in a good situation to survive this. To alleviate some of the advantages they have, I did give Mr. Beak the elite template, although, spoiler, once this began to look bad, I did remove this template mid-battle. Shh. As this is a well-known and probably much anticipated fight, I'll go through this in a bit more detail. Mr. Beak kicked off the encounter by blasting Rock with a Phantom Pain right out of the gate. The spell is upcast to level 3, meaning it deals a very nasty 64 mental damage plus 3d4 persistent mental damage. You can see how devastating that would be to a level 1 character. Rock critically failed his saving throw and took the full brunt of the attack, taking 16 mental damage immediately and gaining the Sickened 2 condition, as well as gaining persistent mental damage. Not a good start for Rock. Milo was first to experience the unique nature of the room's terrain. As the floor is covered in shards of sharp glass, you need to balance to move around in this room. The DC is only 10, so it's not a huge threat, and most of the time it just results in you moving at half speed, although it does make them off guard too. He analysed Mr. Beak's weaknesses using Exploit Vulnerability, which revealed he has no specific weakness, so Personal Antithesis came into effect. Finally, he bounced again to engage Mr. Beak in melee. Sesto had his Eidolon Tiny attempt to bounce into the room, but a failure ended up wasting that action. He settled for moving closer himself and boosting Tiny. One effects cast Bless to bolster her allies. Rock tried to Retch to remove the Sickened condition, but failed to roll high enough. It was a good plan, as although he didn't know this, curing the Sickened condition also ends the persistent damage. Since that failed though, he bounced into the room with a critical success and reached Mr. Beak. He swung for the doll, but his attack went wide. At the end of his turn, he took 6 additional mental damage and recovered from the persistent damage, which also cured the sickness. May ran for the room, but failed her balance check, meaning she couldn't push forward. She entered her Stoked Flame stance. Mr. Beak's turn came about again, and he whiffed an attack, and then slammed his foot into Rock's chin, dropping him to 0 hit points. He then retreated into the distant corner, forcing the party to keep making these balance checks. Milo forced a healing potion down Rock's throat, waking him up with 7 hit points.
Then I'm going
That
to...
little shit. Where is it?
It's over there, over there.
I'm gonna fucking kill it.
Yeah, but let's kill him together.
He bounced his way over and critically failed a strike. At this point, I began to worry a little bit that adding the elite template had overdone it, but I held off amending things yet. Instead, I began taunting my players by having the little wooden doll dance and celebrate its successes.
He starts doing a little dance in the corner.
Oh, he's a little bastard.
Yes.
Sesto had Tiny try and demoralize Mr. Beak, but as a doll, he's immune to mental traits, so the attempt failed. In frustration, he blasted him with a Thunderstrike spell, which ended up dealing half damage. Ornifex healed Rock with some clerical magic and then bounced into the room, hoping to cover more of the group with her Bless spell. Rock stood up and bounced over to the desk. He asked if he could pick up the spyglass and throw it to Sesto, hoping to at least get out with a shiny and use it to lure Tangletop into the fight. However, the spyglass is pretty large and Sesto is pretty small, so after some discussion the group abandoned that idea and Rock instead swung for Mr. Beak, to no effect. May bounced into the room and reached Mr. Beak. She swung for his legs, attempting to trip him, but Mr. Beak resisted the attempt. She then went into a flurry of blows, neither of which hit. It became Mr. Beak's turn again, and I was definitely worried by now. Our heroes were rolling pretty poorly and had barely scratched him, but I still wasn't a fan of amending the fight mid-combat yet, so I continued as things were, which resulted in the following.
He's going to flap his wings and start flailing his feet so that he's like rapidly kicking Milo in the chest.
On the roof.
Holy fucking hell.
Milo, you feel your ribs cave in from the rapid pummeling.
Mr. Beak crit to Milo, leaving him with just 2 hit points. And then he crit Ornifex too. A nasty turn.
Huh.
Kicks super hard for being tiny little guy.
Okay, you feel your knee twist really nastily as it slams it into your kneecap.
At this point, I accepted that this was just too much, despite their extra player. So I took off the elite template, I put his hit points back to where they were, and amended his AC to be the same, as if it was lower, my players would probably notice. I think this was a necessary fix to stop it from being a very painful fight. Milo wanted revenge and bounced over to Mr. Beak, but whiffed his attack. However, the second strike was a natural 20, making it a crit.
Yes! Vengeance!
That crit dealt 19 damage to Mr. Beak, which made me much more comfortable using Mr. Beak to the best of his abilities for the short remainder of his life. Sesto, still hiding in the corridor, sent Tiny to join the melee. Tiny attempted to grapple Mr. Beak, but critically failed.
Oh, as you try and grapple him, he flaps his wings into the sky and heel kicks Tiny into the ground, knocking him prone. And going prone in this room means you take 1 point of damage from the glass.
No!
Oh my god.
Tiny was now prone, so Sesto launched some flames at Mr. Beak, but failed to hit.
There we
This
go.
bastard.
He's a cocky little fuck. That's the annoying thing.
Yeah.
Ornifex checked in at this point to see how wounded he was looking. After the removal of the elite template, he was about half health, so I described him as chipped and damaged, but still moving well. Since the fight sounded like it would be going on for a bit longer, she healed Milo for 17 hit points and raised her shield.
Okay, as you heal Milo, the little bird looks up at you. Stop doing that! I'm going to hurt you!
I look confused at the bird. Stop hurting us! We didn't do anything!
Rock wanted to use Underhand Assault, but was unsure whether he's allowed to due to the balancing requirement of the room. I made the call that he could use the feat, but he would replace the sneak part of the action with the balance move action. He'd still get to make his stealth check, and if successful, his attack, but this seemed more reasonable to the situation. I'm not sure if there's an official ruling about a situation like this. Let me know in the comments if there is. Unfortunately, he failed the stealth check, so couldn't make his attack. He later told me that he doesn't really like Underhanded Assault, as it hasn't worked for him a single time yet in the campaign, so we're going to look at retraining soon, so he can swap it out for something that he enjoys more. He ended his turn with a normal strike that missed. May cast Forbidding Ward on Ornifex, trying to help her withstand the imminent Mr. Beak attack. She then bounced into a position where Rock could get flanking. Due to all the protections placed on Ornifex, it seemed only right to try and surpass them, so Mr. Beak taunted Ornifex and then lashed out.
Mr. Beak looks up at Ornifex. That is not going to be enough.
No!
Oh my god. Damn. For all this shielding.
Ornifex fell to the ground dying. It then repositioned out of all the flanking and missed an attack on Milo. Milo feinted Mr. Beak. This shouldn't have worked, but in the moment I forgot that Mr. Beak was immune to mental abilities, so applied the off guard. Ultimately, it didn't matter though, as Milo missed his attack anyway. Sesto boosted Tiny and had him stand up. He failed his bounce check and ended his turn early. Ornifex failed a recovery check and her dying status progressed. Rock bounced into flanking and successfully struck Mr. Beak in the back.
Stop it! You're hurting me!
Oh,
Aw.
you heard me first.
Oh my god.
Fuck you.
That's a good one-liner.
Okay, how do you want to do this?
Ew.
You heard me first.
Um,
Bah!
Yeah, basically, well, you heard me first, and I'll just stab it through his beak, through the back of the head.
He then critically hit, finally putting Mr. Beak to rest. This was definitely a dangerous fight for our heroes, but I think they handled it well. I'm not sure how things would have gone if they'd had to go another couple of rounds without their healer, but they made good use of flanking to reduce his AC, and those lucky natural 20 rolls really became something to celebrate. The bouncing requirement definitely posed a challenge for them, but I think it was a welcome one. If I could have done anything differently, I probably would have used the terrain better and had Mr. Beak go for trips. If I was feeling meaner, I would have made the 1 damage from falling prone count as 1 failed recovery check as soon as the creature fell unconscious, just to put some fear and urgency in the players. As we've moved on to Chapter 2 now, I began giving out experience again, which was well received by the players. Thester used his Wand of Healing to give the party a burst of health, and Rock tossed the Soul Gem to Milo. Ornifex took a liking to Mr. Beak, now that he wasn't actively killing them, so decided to stash away the inert doll in her bag. Unbeknownst to them, this was a great idea, as if they can learn how to reanimate the doll during this adventure, they'll unlock Poppet as a playable race for future campaigns. With all their post-battle dealings done, they grabbed the shiny and prepared to head back to Tangletop.
Well, that was awful.
Could have been worse.
You know what? Now that I think about it, maybe the painting outside with the artist at work was like the doll maker creating this horrible abomination.
True.
If that's the case, I
You know
want to
what?
shred that painting as well.
I would subscribe to that theory, yes. Very much so.
While they are technically correct in their assumptions, they couldn't find any evidence of this theory in the Lens workshop. So, back to Tangletop they went, hoping these secrets were worth the pain.
Did you get it?
Well, we killed something. It looked like it had a beak.
Yeah,
No,
we
the
also recovered
shiny.
this.
Did you get the shiny?
Which
This,
one?
I hope.
Well, he sees a rock holding it and excitedly runs over. Yippee!
They dropped off the shiny with the very eager brownie, and in return got the promised secrets.
Okay, so I read the books. First, this building used to belong to someone named Volok Azrine. Second, Volok was an apprentice to somebody else named Belcora. And even though this Volok person seemed like somebody who was mean and dangerous, Belcora seemed much worse. Finally, the spooky magic lighthouse can do more than just shine an eerie light. It can also shoot a beam full of ghosts.
They were a little annoyed that the third secret was something they'd already learned, but if they had come here before the Dead Tide, that would have been the most important secret. Rock tried to request a secret that wasn't from the books found in this room. Tangletop got confused and took this as a specific request, which caused a funny misunderstanding.
I'm going to
How about
take
a
this
secret
now.
that you didn't read in the books?
Like what?
I don't know, just something that you might know that we don't know. Doesn't have to be about here. It could be about the town. It could be about you yourself.
Which town?
Atari.
Where is Atari?
That way. My point. That general direction of Atari.
Okay. It grabs hold of the shiny and then opens a small portal that like underneath it so that the shiny falls through and drags him through with it and then closes.
Oh, I would try to grab hold of that as he's trying to get away with.
Okay, make a grapple check.
Like no. We did this work. We should get something that we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a success then. You managed to grab his foot and he's like dangling through the portal, holding onto the telescope. What are you doing? I'm going to get you secrets! Let go!
Oh. I thought. Okay. I thought you were I thought you were just running away. I'm sorry.
Let go of me!
Old habits die hard. Have fun. I let go.
Okay, so it just falls out into the middle of nowhere and the portal closes.
I never saw him again.
Let's forget that ever happened. Okay.
At first, I thought about having Tangletop cause some mischief in town, but I think it would be more fun if Tangletop was genuinely grateful and gets them a real secret. So I'm going to hold on to him, and if they begin stalling for ideas at some point, Tangletop can return and give them a push in the right direction. There's loads of plot points where this could come in handy. When they need to learn who stole the sword, when Doriana Menhemmers begins to go mad, whether the werewolf Joel is alive. I'm going to sit on this one for a while, but I'm sure it'll be a great callback for the players when it does come to fruition. Our heroes theorized that it was now Voluk that was in charge and had made a deal with some kind of eldritch god.
Well, I guess maybe that means that this Azreen person, depending on who the painting is of, then maybe it's Azreen who's made connections with eldritch forces, or is one. themselves to begin with, or some manner of
Perhaps.
some such thing.
Milo found a large silver key in the repair storage, and the group decided to head below, back into the servants' quarters. While we waited for everyone to load the new map, I told them the basic descriptions of this floor. Ceiling height, lighting situation, environmental cues, etc. Then they set off into Volok's chambers. They grabbed the scrap paper listing the book titles, What the Worm Knows, Grave Feasts, and Secrets of the Skull. This began some discussion as to whether Tangletop had these books, or whether Milo had heard of them before, which he had not. If I'm remembering correctly, these books can be located in the lower levels of the dungeon. Let's see if they recall the titles in that moment. With nothing much to go on, May listened at the northern door and heard nothing. She headed into Borbo's room and, after a quick successful search, found Borbo's stash, cleaning it out into her inventory. I've gone through the Foundry module now to mystify all the magic items that would need identifying, and that includes the Slick rune from this loot. We had some out-of-game discussion as to how Identify magic works at this point. Essentially, we were confused as to which skill you have to use. The problem, it turns out, is because we haven't run into an item that has the relevant trait yet, so we were kind of just guessing what skill you're supposed to use. After some research, I now realize that an item will either have a trait telling you which skill to use, or it'll have no trait, in which case any skill can be used. I'm glad we finally understand that. Either way, Milo failed an Identify magic check, so they are still unaware what they have. Rock still had his wounded condition from the Mr Beak fight, but was only missing a few hit points thanks to the Wand of Healing. Ornifex offered to treat his wounds, just to get rid of the wounded condition, but Rock didn't want to have the immunity for an hour just in case he needed real healing. I sure wonder if that will come back to bite them in the ass. Content that these rooms had been cleared, they entered Voluk's machine room. The undead ritual machine obviously drew their attention, as did the large log of desiccated flesh. Ornifex rolled a critical success on a religion check to identify the machine, and identified it as a device to create undead.
Well, I of course passed this information down to everyone.
Rose.
Maybe that's what the book is about, Secrets of the Skull?
Oh, maybe.
Did we take the black gem?
I'm very tempted to.
I feel like surely if this thing channels the energy, then taking that on mean it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, that should be the case. That means nobody can stumble upon this in the future and use it to revive this log. I wouldn't
Yeah.
want an undead flesh log around.
Yeah, that'd be pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
Well,
So we're all in agreement that touching the evil orb is a good idea.
They popped out the black onyx gem, destroying the device, and in doing so disturbed the blood siphon, which writhed to life. We rolled initiative and called the session there. This session was a lot of fun. We had some goofy roleplay, an intense fight, and they found some good new loot. Going into next session, we're obviously going to have the blood siphon combat, which shouldn't be too bad as they're likely just going to flank and destroy it before it can do too much. This small area they're in leads down instead of linking up with the rest of the servants' quarter, so hopefully they backtrack instead of going deeper. As promised, here are the results of the small poll to our players. For favourite NPC, John said Gregory, as he feels like he's the main antagonist currently. So he said Rin, as her guidance in the story felt natural and not like a big lore dump. Sam said Merman Hemmers, as his quick dismissal of Gregory, someone who's caused him a fair amount of stress, makes him seem interesting. Tina said Rin, as she's the NPC that she's talked to the most, and she's been pleasant to interact with. Max said Gregory for obvious reasons. That makes our hero's favourite NPC currently a tie between Rin and Gregory. Did you guess correctly? For their favourite combat encounter, John can't decide between Mr. Beak or the corpse lights, as both felt like genuine oh shit moments. Zoe said Mr. Beak, as they had to come up with a real strategy and couldn't just punch their way through it. Sam said the corpse light fight, as the build-up made it seem like a really significant encounter, as well as needing all the resources and learned skills to get everybody out alive. Tina liked Mr. Beak because he was both cute and unexpectedly strong. She also enjoyed the custom Foundry music for that fight. And Max said the corpse light fight, as it was the moment the lethality of Pathfinder really hit home to him. That makes the corpse lights the group's favourite fight so far. It'll be exciting when they eventually return for vengeance. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're enjoying the series. How did my group do against Mr. Beak compared to yours? Please like and subscribe if you want to see the series continue. As always, have a great day, and please remember to not let dolls be in your house. They're super weird and creepy.